In 1987, Barbie starred in her first ever mainstream media venture, Barbie and the Rockers Out of This World. The 30-minute television special was based on the doll line of the same name, and allegedly intended to kick off a much larger slate of Barbie projects, including a supposed daily animated series and even an animation live-action hybrid.
Now right now, for their first appearance ever on Broadway, it's Barbie and the Rockers.
But despite the doll line being well received and the television special being successful enough to warrant a sequel, none of the planned series would ever come to fruition, and any material related to them would be completely lost. It wasn't until nearly 15 years later that Mattel would finally bring Barbie back to the silver screen, with the much-anticipated release of 2001's Barbie in the Nutcracker. For myself and millions of girls around the world, the film was revolutionary, turning Barbie from purely a toy icon into a multimedia one, and launching what would become one of the most iconic and beloved film franchises in modern history: the Barbie Cinematic Universe. With more than 40 entries, the BCU has given fans countless cinematic masterpieces: Barbie Princess and the Pauper, Barbie Island Princess, Barbie Diamond Castle, the Fairytopia trilogy, Barbie 12 Dancing Princesses, Barbie Swan Lake, Barbie and the Three Musketeers, Barbie and a Fashion Barbie, and my personal favourite, Barbie Magic of Pegasus. But much like Barbie and the Rockers and the cancelled series the special was meant to launch, the BCU films were never as straightforward as they appeared. Behind the scenes, many BCU films went through their fair share of experiments, rewrites, and creative overhauls, with some simply changing dramatically between concept and release, and others disappearing completely. Often these early versions only survived in fragments: doll lines that didn't match the final film, inaccurate trailers, and stray production details that hinted at movies we never actually saw. But it's within these remnants that fans have uncovered an array of both speculated and confirmed BCU lost media. Pieces of Barbie history that were once planned and sometimes even partially completed, but ultimately left behind. From small outfit changes to entire characters and storylines seemingly disappearing, today let's investigate some of these mysterious inconsistencies, forgotten concepts, and hidden traces of what once could have been. These are the lost versions of the Barbie animated movies.
Once there lived the most beautiful princess. Sleeping Beauty Barbie.
In 1999, Mattel released Sleeping Beauty Barbie, a blue dress doll that came with a musical pillow and the ability to open and close her eyes. It wasn't the first Barbie doll based on the famous fairy tale, and it certainly wouldn't be the last, but what made this 1999 doll so notable is that it was reportedly intended to be a tie-in doll to a Barbie as Sleeping Beauty animated film, a film that would never end up releasing. A few years before Barbie in the Nutcracker debuted as the first BCU film, Barbie as the Sleeping Beauty, an adaptation of the Tchaikovsky ballet, was supposedly planned to be Barbie's first feature-length film. The film was never officially announced by Mattel, and there is little to no publicly available evidence that can absolutely confirm its existence or even its cancellation. But nonetheless, several pieces of media were released in 1999 that fans speculate are remnants of this lost film. The most well-known of this media is the commercial released for the Sleeping Beauty Barbie doll, which featured short snippets of animation alongside shots of the doll. It's by no means uncommon for Barbie doll commercials to feature animation. However, the clips in this commercial were actually later found to be from a 1-minute long short film that was released on Nickelodeon.
She was lured to the spindle. The curse came true, and the princess fell fast asleep.
This short told a condensed version of the classic Sleeping Beauty fairy tale and is believed by many to have acted as a pitch or proof of concept for the scrapped full-length adaptation. Many point to the fact that the animation style of this short, while obviously less refined, is quite reminiscent to the style of Barbie in the Nutcracker, suggesting it may have been a rough prototype of the visual direction Mattel was planning to take for the Sleeping Beauty film. But alongside the doll and short film, there was also the lesser-known CD-ROM game Barbie as Sleeping Beauty, which some fans theorize is the outcome of the film's story being repurposed after the film was scrapped. If this is true, it means the game offers the only available insight into what the story of Barbie as the Sleeping Beauty would have been.
I'm Princess Rose, and this is the story of why I'm called Sleeping Beauty.
As to be expected, the film would have followed the classic Sleeping Beauty tale, with Barbie's character Princess Rose being cursed as a baby to one day prick her finger and fall into a deep sleep, only to be awoken by true love's kiss. Where the Barbie adaptation would have set itself apart was that in this version, Princess Rose would own a magical flute with the power to awaken the goodness in others, and after she pricks her finger, the evil fairy would steal her instrument. This would set up a climactic final act in which, after being awoken by one Prince Kendall, Rose would face the evil fairy to retrieve her flute and use it to wake up everyone in the castle, therefore saving her kingdom. Whether or not this game, short film, and doll were truly remnants of a larger film project remain up for debate, but taken together they do present a pretty strong case that a Barbie Sleeping Beauty adaptation was, at the very least, in early development. Ultimately though, if this alleged Barbie as the Sleeping Beauty film was planned, it was of course cancelled and is now lost. However, it wouldn't be the last time Mattel would visit the idea of adapting Sleeping Beauty for the BCU. By the mid to late 2000s, the BCU was truly at its peak, with films like Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses and Barbie as the Island Princess becoming some of the most beloved BCU films to date. So according to some, Mattel saw this period of success as the perfect moment to give Sleeping Beauty another shot. Supposedly, Barbie and the Three Musketeers was not originally planned to be the 16th BCU film, and instead, a second attempt at a Barbie Sleeping Beauty adaptation was set to release in late 2009, but was once again ultimately cancelled. Practically nothing is known about this adaptation, although it's fair to assume it would have once again drawn inspiration from Tchaikovsky's ballet and likely would have featured the music from his original score, just as Barbie in the Nutcracker and Barbie of Swan Lake did with their respective ballets. What has been widely speculated, however, is the reason for its supposed cancellation. Reportedly, the film was shelved due to Disney filing a trademark for the name Princess Aurora in 2007, which controversially would have severely restricted future adaptations and performances of the Sleeping Beauty ballet. And despite the name Princess Aurora actually originating in this ballet from 1890, the filing was accepted in 2012, though it was slightly altered to only apply to films, television, and general sound and video recordings. Disney has an infamous reputation when it comes to lawsuits and protecting their copyright, so it's very possible that if Mattel was planning this 2009 Sleeping Beauty film, they shelved it to avoid any potential run-ins with Disney's legal team, though it didn't stop them from continuing to release Sleeping Beauty dolls. And some fans point to the 2007 and 2008 Barbie as Sleeping Beauty playlines as evidence that a 2009 adaptation was indeed in the works. Said lines featured 4 unique Barbie as Sleeping Beauty dolls, each with a slightly differing outfit, as well as 2 male love interest dolls and a re-released Kelly as Sleeping Beauty doll originally from the 2006 Barbie Sparkle Princess Fairy Tale collection. One notable inclusion in the 2007 line was a horse and carriage playset, which might not sound like anything special, but carriage playsets have historically been almost exclusively used in BCU tie-in playlines. Obviously there are exceptions, but for the most part independent carriage playsets have been pretty rare, so some fans suggest its existence is proof that this playline was originally going to tie into a film. That being said, the timeline isn't perfect. If these dolls really were planned to tie into a 2009 film, they were released 1 to 2 years too early. Either that or the film was actually cancelled before 2009, which also doesn't entirely make sense. Because outside the release of this doll line, there is actually a pretty solid piece of evidence that this film did in fact exist. In a 2014 article for Entertainment Weekly, author Stephen Lee recapped the history of the Sleeping Beauty fairy tale to coincide with the release of the then upcoming Maleficent film. And in this article, a 2009 Barbie adaptation of the fairy tale is acknowledged. Not only that, but the article also states in a pretty factual tone that the film was indeed cancelled in 2009 due to Disney attempting to trademark the name Princess Aurora. So while the details remain frustratingly scarce, there is a reasonable chance that a second attempt at a Barbie Sleeping Beauty adaptation was attempted. And who knows, maybe in the future a third attempt will prove to be the magic number. After the success of 2005's Barbie Fairytopia film, Mattel immediately began production on the BCU's first ever sequel, Barbie Fairytopia Mermadia. The continuation of Alina's story would release the following year and introduce fans to not only more of the Fairytopia universe, but also the iconic character Nori, a headstrong, sassy, but fiercely loyal and low-key bisexual mermaid.
I mean, you're beautiful and all, but you're not that beautiful.
What?
Nori would become a fan favourite character, but she would also become the centre of a Mermadia mystery, as in early versions of the film, Nori looked completely different.
Tonight, all new stories on the season premiere of Unsolved Mysteries.
On September 20th, 2005, Barbie Magic of Pegasus was released on DVD. Alongside the film itself and some special features, the DVD included a gallery of trailers for then upcoming Barbie films, including the very first teaser trailer for Mermadia. The teaser would begin with a brief recap of the original Fairytopia film, before revealing that Alina would soon venture to an underwater world, joined by not one, but two new mermaid characters. However, when the final film came out less than 6 months later, fans immediately noticed that these two mermaids were nowhere to be seen. It wasn't long before fans determined that the mermaid with the pink colour palette was likely Shella, a character that was scrapped from the final film but still released as a doll. The similarities between the two were pretty hard to ignore. Both the teaser mermaid and the Shella doll had a teal-green tail, pink top and pink hair. And whilst the doll's top was slightly more stylized, the colour combination was a bit too specific to be a coincidence. The identity of the other mermaid, however, was less clear. With flowing hair, pearl arm cuffs, a seashell top, and pastel purple colour palette, some fans speculated that she might have been Marissa, another character that never appeared in the film but received a doll with a similar top and colour scheme. Other fans argued that the purple mermaid couldn't be Marissa, as the mystery character was pictured on the back of the Mermadia DVD, and according to some, it wouldn't make sense for a scrapped character to be featured in the film's marketing. It wasn't until fans turned to other tie-in physical media that this mystery was finally laid to rest. In the 2006 Mermadia storybook, which retold the film's plot alongside early production stills, the mystery mermaid from the teaser was directly identified as Nori. As it turned out, early in Mermadia's production, Nori had a completely different design, appearing much softer and more in line with modern pop culture depictions of mermaids. However, before the film's release, that design was completely scrapped in favour of the one seen in the final film, possibly to provide more of a visual contrast between Alina and Nori. But this also explained why the purple mermaid appeared on the back of the DVD. She wasn't a scrapped character at all, but Nori herself, simply frozen in time in her earlier evolution. But solving this mystery only led to another. When and why did Nori's design change? Not only did Nori receive a relatively screen-accurate doll, but her finalized design also appears on the front of the Mermadia DVD. This would suggest that her design was updated fairly early in production, or at least early enough for an entire doll to be planned, prototyped, and mass-produced. And yet, her original design is present across books, promotional material, and even the same DVD packaging that also has her final design. Given that Mermadia was released almost a year exactly after its predecessor, it's entirely possible that certain tie-in media, like books and early promotional content, were too far into production to be revised in time for the film's release. However, it would give enough time for her new model to be added to the DVD cover and even for her new doll to be fast-tracked. But this timeline would also mean that a significant amount of material, whether it be scripts, storyboards, even animations, would have had to have already been completed with Nori's original design. But what makes this all even more intriguing is that Nori's redesign didn't happen in isolation. Rather, it appears to have been part of a broader shift in Mermadia's development, one that included reworking not just character designs, but entire roles and relationships within the story. If Nori's original design was scrapped, what does that say about Shella and Marissa, the missing mermaids? Were they also part of an earlier version of the film that was lost during production? Probably. And if characters like Shella, Marissa, and even Nori herself were casualties of an earlier draft, it raises the question, what else from Fairytopia's world was abandoned in development? Like its predecessor, Mermadia was a huge success. In fact, it was one of the most successful BCU films when it was released, leading to a full-scale expansion of the Fairytopia world. Mattel would release the third Fairytopia film, Magic of the Rainbow, in 2007, as well as a spin-off titled Mariposa in 2008, and a sequel to said spin-off in 2013. But not long after Mariposa's debut, rumours began to swirl in the Barbie fandom that a fourth Fairytopia film was set to release. It of course never did, and was probably never real to begin with. In 2009, a film titled Fairytopia Magical Twist of Time appeared on film review site Rotten Tomatoes, accompanied by a detailed plot synopsis reading, "While Alina and Bibble are having fun in Magic Meadow, Laverna eats the immunity berry from Mermadia that gives her the power of immunity from all magic past, present, and future. She twists time, reverting back to when Alina was a wingless fairy. Leaving Alina that way, Laverna releases the flying sickness that kills plants and takes away fairies' ability to fly. It is up to Alina and her companion Bibble to find out what happened, during which they meet new fairy friends including Mariposa to find the magical gold wand to defeat Laverna." However, this entire page was completely removed from the site not long after it was listed, and no further announcements, trailers, or even dolls would ever release. Hence, it's now widely accepted that this film was a fabrication, likely made up by one fan on fanfiction.net. It's worth noting that the concept and title of this supposed fourth Fairytopia film were very similar to 2007's Cinderella 3: A Twist in Time, leading many fans to speculate that one fan saw this film and was inspired to create their own Barbie Fairytopia twist to it. A twist of time, one might say. Considering how successful the entire Fairytopia world was, it's not totally unreasonable to suspect a fourth Fairytopia film was in the works at some point. However, the odds of it being Fairytopia Magical Twist of Time are pretty low. Sorry. In June of 2010, sharp-eyed Barbie fans discovered Mattel had filed a trademark for what appeared to be an upcoming BCU film titled Barbie Princess Prep School. The film was never officially announced and no other details surfaced at the time, so the trademark quickly and quietly fell into obscurity. That was until 2 years later when the film re-emerged, not as Barbie Princess Prep School but as one of the most popular modern additions to the BCU, 2011's Barbie Princess Charm School, a film that fans immediately suspected had lost early versions. Mattel began promoting Barbie Princess Charm School in March of 2011, when the film's first teaser trailer was featured on the Barbie A Fairy Secret DVD. Like many BCU teasers, it clearly consisted of unfinished animation and early character designs, but what really stood out to fans was the group of characters the teaser introduced. Front and center was of course Barbie's character Blair, but alongside her were her two best friends, Princess Hadley in blue and in purple, Delancey. For anyone who had seen the final film, this raised questions immediately. In the final cut, Blair's best friends were Hadley and Isla, while Delancey was the archetypal mean girl and daughter of the film's villain, Dame Devon.
What's left for us?
So why was it that in pretty much all promotional material for the film, Delancey was portrayed as part of the main trio, while Isla was completely missing? Delancey received fully rendered stock art in both her final gown and purple school uniform, artwork which was featured on everything from book covers to party supplies. She even appeared on the front cover of the DVD. Isla, by comparison, was relegated to a small image on the back of the DVD and only really showed up inside tie-in books where she sported an earlier version of her design. One that, if you ask me, looks eerily similar to Musa in Season 1 of Winx Club. But perhaps the discrepancy was most notable when it came to the film's tie-in doll line released in mid-2011. Delancey received multiple dolls, including a deluxe doll in her gown, a budget doll in her custom uniform, and a mini Kingdom doll. Meanwhile, Isla did not receive a single doll throughout the line's entire run, an omission that confused fans so much that in early 2012, One got in contact with the film's director Ezekiel Norton to ask what exactly had happened to Isla's merchandise. In his email response, Norton replied, "As for your question, Isla doesn't have a doll because she is a character that was made up for the movie and wasn't a toy first. The movies are made based on Mattel's toy lines and the toys are made first, so any characters we create while writing the script or during production of the movie are too late to make as a doll." From this, fans came to the conclusion that in earlier versions of Barbie Princess Charm School, Delancey was going to be one of Blair's best friends, while Isla was going to be the daughter of Dame Devon. However, at some point late in production, Delancey and Isla were quietly swapped. Alongside Norton's email, fans pointed to the fact that Mattel has rarely produced dolls of the BCU villains, due to those characters typically being created during the film's writing rather than the doll's planning. So it tracks that if Isla was written into the film to be the mean girl, she wouldn't have had a doll planned, but Delancey, who was going to be Barbie's best friend, would. It's also worth noting that in one of the few promotional stills to feature Isla, she was depicted on the sideline while Blair, Hadley, and Delancey embraced, mirroring the final scenes of the film where instead Delancey occupies that position. As to why the swap happened, most fans theorize it was because Delancey shared a much closer resemblance to Dame Devon compared to Isla, making Delancey a much more unambiguous on-screen relative for the film's child audience. Including Isla in the main trio also would have allowed for more positive representation in the group, something that would have been appealing to Mattel during the push for diverse stories that really gained traction in the 2010s. And though this swap was initially just a fan-drawn conclusion, it would very quickly gain concrete proof, as the synopsis on the back of the film's DVD was never updated to reflect the character's swap, and continued to read, "Blair loves her classes, her helpful magical sprite, and her new friends Princess Hadley and Delancey." Fans had been right from the beginning. The Princess Charm School they saw was not the version that was originally planned. And naturally, this revelation led fans to dig deeper into Princess Charm School's history, hoping to find any surviving materials from the pre-character swap version of the film. But instead, what they found was that the title and character swap was just the tip of the iceberg, because they found evidence of multiple, dramatically different versions of the film. The earliest surviving concept for Barbie Princess Charm School dates back to October of 2010, nearly a whole year before the film's release, when online retailers began listing a mysterious Barbie book set to publish on June 21st, 2011. The book was titled Barbie Princess Charm School, a panorama sticker storybook, and its synopsis revealed that in the first iteration of the then titled Barbie Princess Prep School film, Barbie plays Blair, a girl who grew up in the kingdom of Buckinghurst. She's an orphan who has seen the destruction of her kingdom's natural resources and longs to leave. But fate has other ideas for Blair once she is invited to be an assistant at Buckinghurst Princess Prep School. This version of the film not only had Blair as an orphan, with no mention of her adoptive mother or sister, but also seemed to omit her lost princess storyline. Instead, the film focused heavily on environmental themes, with Blair seemingly positioned to be the one to save her kingdom, which is a direction that would have made sense considering the eco-conscious branding that Mattel embraced in the late 2000s to early 2010s. A few months later, however, Barbie Princess Prep School went through a rewrite. On December 6, 2010, a second tie-in book appeared on Amazon titled Barbie Princess Charm School Barbie Big Golden Book, which revealed the film had been reworked to, in her latest direct-to-DVD movie, Barbie is a teacher's assistant at the prestigious Buckinghurst Princess Prep School. But when mean Princess Tessa wants to take over, Barbie and her princess friends must find a way to stop her. This synopsis marked a shift away from the environmental themes and towards a character-driven conflict, with the introduction of a mean Princess Tessa and Barbie's princess friends. Characters that would of course go on to be Delancey, Isla, and Hadley respectively. But this second iteration of the film seemingly didn't last long, as just 10 days after this book began appearing on Amazon, Mattel officially trademarked Barbie Princess Charm School. And from there, the film began settling into its final shape. One last early synopsis from early 2011 was found on a New Zealand online store, and though it still contained some small differences, it was clear the final film's framework was in place. In this unapologetically all-princess movie, Barbie packs her bags and heads off to a famous school to learn about how to become a princess. Barbie stars as Blair, a very modern girl who lives in a contemporary fairy tale setting. She receives an invitation to attend Princess Charm School for formal princess training. She makes friends with rock star princess and soccer star princess, but still feels out of place since she doesn't come from a royal family like the other students. Blair and her new friends soon become convinced that she is the rightful heir to Gardenia's throne, as unusual things start to happen around the castle, and Tess, one of the mean girls, looks set to rule the kingdom after graduation. Luckily, the sprites, magical princess assistants, reveal a previous queen that looks a lot like Blair. Good will triumph, and after 15 years, Blair is revealed as the rightful heir to the throne of Buckinghurst Castle. The final Barbie Princess Charm School film was released in September of 2011, and considering how beloved the film would become, it's no wonder that so many fans have been searching for its lost early version since. And with the search all stemming from one inaccurate teaser, it just goes to show what kind of Pandora's boxes the BCU teaser trailers can truly be. This is a segue. Although the teaser for Barbie Princess Charm School is possibly the most well-known case, the BCU teaser trailers actually have a pretty extensive history of showing off early or incomplete versions of the films they set out to promote. Most of the time, the changes from teaser to final film are so minor that only those actively seeking them out would notice them, such as slightly different dresses in the 12 Dancing Princesses teaser or Dandelion's different hair in Fairytopias. But other times, the changes are much more significant. This was especially the case between September of 2008 and September of 2009, where of the 4 BCU films to release, 3 had teaser trailers with such noticeable differences that fans couldn't help but speculate they were actually evidence that the films had lost early versions. The first of these films was 2008's Barbie and the Diamond Castle, which followed best friends Liana and Alexa as they set out to save their new friend Melody. Today the film is best remembered for its iconic soundtrack, lesbian undertones, and unique visual style when compared to other BCU films. However, the film's first teaser trailer didn't entirely reflect the final film's aesthetic. Liana's design in the teaser was noticeably different, with her having brown eyes and a high bun instead of the blue eyes and loose braid threaded ponytail that would later become her signature. The changes in Melody's appearance were even more drastic, with her not not only having a blonde bun instead of her intricate auburn half-up style, but also missing her floral wreath, gold jewelry, and ancient Greek-inspired attire. Many fans have even noted that her model in this teaser bears an uncanny resemblance to that of Princess Fallon from Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses. The most likely explanation for these inconsistencies is that the final Liana and Melody models weren't complete when the Diamond Castle teaser was being produced. So the filmmakers, presumably on a deadline to deliver the promotional materials, decided to use existing assets from previous BCU films as placeholders. But then there's the matter of the finale dresses. Most BCU films have a signature outfit that Barbie's character wears in the film and is featured in and on marketing material and the main doll. In the case of Barbie and the Diamond Castle, at the end of the film, Liana and Alexa transform into their iconic pride flag ball gowns, which can be seen on the DVD cover and on all their characters' dolls. However, in this first teaser trailer, these dresses are nowhere to be seen, and instead, the girls were shown to transform into much simpler A-line dresses, with Liana's missing its unique orange accent and neither girls changing their hairstyle. While the teaser's low quality makes some details hard to confirm, it seems that these finale dresses were initially going to be a lot closer aesthetically to the Muses' gowns, being inspired by ancient Greek tunics rather than the typical Barbie ball gowns. It's hard to say whether these dresses were also just stand-ins for unfinished assets or if they were in fact early, now lost designs, but either way, they offer a glimpse into a forgotten early stage of Diamond Castle's evolution. And speaking of things that have been forgotten,
Barbie Entertainment presents the story of Thumbelina, now available on DVD.
Not long after Barbie and the Diamond Castle, Mattel would release Barbie Thumbelina, a modern retelling of the classic fairy tale with pretty much nothing in common with the plot of the classic fairy tale. The film's unique animation style and dolls have made it one of the more divisive BCU entries, and one of the most commonly forgotten, but its teaser stands out for a very different reason. One of the film's main characters is completely missing in it. In the final film, Thumbelina is accompanied for most of the story by her two best friends, Chrysella and Janessa, yet in the film's first teaser trailer, Janessa was completely absent. She was missing from scenes that would later include her in the final film, and the teaser's voiceover explicitly suggested that Chrysella would be the only other Twillaby to accompany Thumbelina on her journey.
Thumbelina and her friend are taken to a very strange place.
If it was always intended for Janessa to appear in the final film, which seems to be the case considering she received a tie-in doll, it's strange that the teaser so obviously excluded her. Some fans have theorized that she was written into the initial film, only to be cut in an earlier draft, and then reinstated before the film's completion, similar to Shella and Marissa, only with the outcome that the mermaids wish they got. If this is the case, it raises the possibility that there's a version of Barbie Thumbelina where Janessa only exists as a minor character, or even not at all. Finally, half a year after debuting Barbie Thumbelina, Mattel returned to a more familiar BCU formula with the release of 2009's Barbie and the Three Musketeers, a film loosely inspired by the classic novel. Unlike the previously mentioned BCU films, Barbie and the Three Musketeers was actually promoted with two distinct teasers before the release of its official trailer, an unusual move that gave fans an early look at the film's concept, characters, and message, while also unintentionally revealing early versions of the characters' designs. Not a single dress scene in either of the teasers would ever be seen in the final film, with Corinne's being an unfinished version of her ball gown and her fellow musketeers wearing recolored copies of it. Likewise, the shorter combat-friendly musketeer dresses were also just recolored versions of Corinne's initial dress, rather than the individual designs they would eventually wear. But more significantly, all three musketeers were unrecognizable. Sort of, as all three characters had completely different models that were lifted directly from previous BCU films. Aramina and Vivica appeared as the Diamond Castle's Melody and Teresa respectively, and Renee appeared as Nikki from Barbie and A Christmas Carol. To add to the confusion, the second teaser also referred to the character Vivica as Trista, suggesting a possible last-minute name change.
Trista, the fashionista.
As with Barbie and the Diamond Castle's teaser, these different character models could be another case of reusing old assets to meet marketing deadlines. However, reusing models for three of the film's four main characters in two distinct teasers has led some fans to speculate that it was initially planned for the Three Musketeers to be portrayed with reused models. If so, there would be material from a version of the film where Aramina, Vivica, and Renee look completely different, a version that, if it ever existed, has since been completely lost. On the 29th of August 2016, just a few months before one of the darkest days in modern history, the 33rd BCU film Barbie Starlight Adventure would officially release on home video. It was the first BCU film produced under the newly rebranded name Mattel Creations, as well as the first BCU film since 2011's Barbie: A Fairy Secret to have a theatrical release. This theatre debut took place on July 30th of the same year, when Barbie partnered with Fathom Events to host a one-day screening of the film in select cinemas. But not only were fans able to watch the film on the big screen, they were also treated to a pre-show full of exclusive materials, including music videos, an interview with an astronaut, and a deleted scene that to this day is completely lost, having never been released to the general public. According to multiple tie-in books for the film, as well as the first-hand account of YouTuber Erica B, this lost scene took place as Barbie and her team traveled to the central planet. Mid-flight, as the team navigated through a magnetic storm, one of the ship's thrusters was hit by debris, forcing Leo to venture outside and repair the damage. While there, he would be knocked away from the ship and nearly float into the void a la gravity, but thankfully he would be rescued by Barbie. The only surviving trace of this deleted scene is a blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment in the film's trailer, where Barbie can be seen suiting up to save Leo. But otherwise, the scene is completely lost, and without it, there is no explanation as to why the character's ship is damaged upon its landing. Why these scenes were cut from Barbie Starlight Adventure is unclear, though with how recent the movie is, it wouldn't be surprising if there's still a copy of them somewhere in Mattel's archive, on a filmmaker's hard drive, or even a sneaky bootlegger's secret stash of tapes. Perhaps Barbie fans should band together and demand the release of the Starlight cut. I'm gonna cut that joke. That is such a bad joke. From alleged scrapped ballet adaptations to redesigned characters, swap best friends, and trailers that straight up lied, the Barbie Cinematic Universe has left behind more than a few lost media mysteries. Whether it's movies that were cancelled or versions that were abandoned during production, if nothing else, the lost media of the Barbie Cinematic Universe is proof of how much work goes into these films. Every design drawn and animated, every script written and then rewritten again, and then just one more time for good luck. Every little change just goes to show that even though these films are often dismissed as just little girl movies, they are made with so much love and purpose, and they are worthy of our attention. And honestly, that's kind of perfect. Because whether it's a sleeping princess or a mermaid that went through an identity crisis, these half-forgotten versions remind fans that the BCU has never just been about the movies themselves. They're about the worlds being built, the messages being learnt, the ideas left on the cutting room floor, and the fandom that will never stop looking for them. So while some Barbie films and their histories may be lost forever, they'll never truly disappear, because as long as fans keep searching, theorizing, and, let's be honest, overanalyzing doll lines that came out 15 years ago, the lost versions of the Barbie animated movies will always be part of the franchise's history, and part of my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I don't know how to tie a tie.